Hello. You may have seen my video about the HP 9836C that I did recently. Well, this is a floppy drive for it. This is the HP 9122C, and the floppy drives don't really work so good. If I put a disk in here, you'll see, oh, it takes it immediately just to make me look crazy. Ah, that's not good. There we are. Yeah. So the drives are kind of gummed up. And I want to lubricate them today because the other day I tried to make some discs that were usable with the HP Series 200, and the drives didn't make valid file systems. One of them, it seemed like the head was stuck and it wasn't moving, and it only wrote onto one track. And on the other, there was just one track that was off with the timing somehow. So today I want to take it apart, lubricate, well, clean and lubricate the mechanisms for the floppy drives, and see if I can make it work with the HP 9836C. All right, now to get into this drive, you only have to take out 2 screws, and the whole case rotates forward. The manual reminds you before you lift this up that you should have the power button pushed in to give yourself more clearance, because the whole thing just lifts up from the rear and folds forward and off. So we did a bit of an investigation on this thing yesterday, so we already figured some things out. And one thing you notice when you get into these is that this is an evil floppy drive that gets power over the ribbon cables only. The power connectors are not attached to these drives. They do have a footprint for it buried deep within there, but yes, they have power over ribbon cable, which I hate. I do know what the pinout is, at least, for that, with some help from Helen Croft, who is here on Twitch watching. So I have an idea of how these could be replaced, but still not very fun. Drives are held in on the bottom with screws, and they're kind of almost keyed in where they go based on which screws attach to where. You couldn't actually put these in backwards if you wanted to, which is good because they also don't have a twist in the ribbon cable, and they're identified Shugart style with a switch on the side. With the drive out, we can now see it is a Sony MP-F73W-50, which, when I looked this up, is actually unique to the HP drives, so I don't think this exact mechanism is shared with anything else. Over here, we can see how they've repurposed the side of the floppy connector that's usually only ground to carry power as well. I really don't like that. But yeah, not too much more to look at down there, because everything we need to see is under this. There is our bare drive mechanism. So one thing I did notice when I was looking these up is around here, there is a motor for the versions that have Mac drives. So possibly the PCB is shared between the Mac and HP versions. But yeah, over here, there would be a motor for the motorized eject. This one is, as we saw, a full manual eject. The problem is that sometimes, wow, maybe because I actuated a bunch, now it's pretending like it works better. Oh, there I can't. Oh, that's because that's getting jammed. Yeah. But this was not cooperating. There we go. It's not going down when it should be. So that's the problem I've been having with it. And what I'm hoping, teardown and cleaning will solve.
Since this unit has 2 floppy drives in it, I decided to use the first one for my initial investigations and poking and prodding about to figure out what exactly needed to be done, which was good because I had to go back and redo a couple of things as I discovered new areas that needed some attention. So we're going to refocus on the second drive after I verify that I was able to get the first one working.
So after a bunch of investigation and testing, this drive is now confirmed working. So I'm going to move on to this one and get it out, tear it down, and go over exactly what needed to be done, because these things are kind of a mess, and they have a lot of work that needs to be done to them. So if this one exhibits all the same issues as the last one, we'll want to get this shroud off first. And then the front faceplate. So we'll release it here. Perfect. And then I am actually going to go grab a disc, put it in the drive, because that will push that button out, and then I can slide this down so I don't avoid breaking little plastic tabs there. And this is where the problems start to become visible. So the disc drop mechanism, the disc should fall down these tracks, but it doesn't want to do that. If I take the tracks here and I push them forward, then it will work. So there's nothing jamming this. It's just, it is a bunch of dried stuck grease, and it's just not where I thought it was initially. But we can start off by taking off this top plate, and there are 2 springs holding that on the sides. So I'm gonna grab these. Now, this, when the drive eject mechanism is all the way back, will start to lift up. You'll want to keep some pressure on the top head so it doesn't slam down, and then you can release it down there gracefully. This piece doesn't need too much, but we will come back to it. For now, the primary issues with the drive come down to a couple of things. For one, we see these discs that are used to hold the drive in place. These trap a bit of dirt under there, so this doesn't move too freely, although to make this move a little freer, I'm actually going to put a twist tie on this piece, because this locks that back. Then I'm going to pull it and wrap it around something in the rear, which will make it so that I can move this back and forth more easily. So first, I would say there's a bunch of dust and dirt underneath of this metal plate. So I'm going to take an air compressor gun, and I'm just going to blow this out. And that already starts to make a huge difference. But there are a couple of other problems. There are 4 divots, 1, 2, 3, 4. And these are the actual slide points for this, because when this is on, there are the springs on the sides, and they push down on this with the rollers on the side of the top plate that are guiding this down to clamp. So you do actually need to put some lubricant under where those go, and it's kind of difficult because removing this plate is not very easy. So I would recommend trying to get it in underneath. And that is now wildly smoother than it was before. Okay, the next issue is with the head. It will not move back and forth. Matter of fact, I'm just gonna power this so you can see that happening. All right, so I'm gonna turn on both drives here. I've taken the top back off of this one so you can see. It will seek this drive first, and then it will attempt to seek this one, and yeah, it doesn't really move. You can actually hear the motor straining to try and move that around. There are a couple of issues here. For one, we can actually lift the floppy head up off of the lead screw there, and we can see that there's just a bunch of gunk built up on there. That needs cleaned. But also, there is a single linear rail over here. You can see it. That needs to be relubricated as well. And I saw earlier, there are actually metal bushings on this. So I'm gonna recommend actually relubricating it. Normally, I would not recommend lubricating a linear rail if it is a plastic on metal situation, because the plastic is considered the bushing. But because it has those what look like brass rings in there, you will want an actual lubricant on that. So relubricating this and then cleaning this and relubricating it's the way to go. I also dropped a little bit of oil down into the hub for the motor just to give it some more lubrication inside as well. I don't know if that was necessary, but I did do that. So I will attempt just cleaning the linear rail and the lead screw for this drive right now, then we'll see how that works out.
To clean these, I'm first putting isopropanol on one end of a Q-tip so I can get in there and break up and remove the old grease. Then I'm putting some 3-in-1 oil on the other end so I can more directly apply it rather than just trying to drip drops of it in there and having it be a mess.
And there, the linear rail has been relubricated as well as the lead screw. So if I turn this back on, the other head will seek, but then this one, there we go, actually can seek now. So that is what this needed. I think the motor internally is fine. It may be worth going over this a few times, letting it move the lead screw into different positions by picking up the head and moving it somewhere else so you get a different side of this, because then you can clean it a little more effectively. It's not easy to get in there and manually rotate this thing. So yeah, I'm still getting off some gunk because it's hard to get to all sides. So you may just want to spend a little bit more time doing that. But that is all you need to do to free the head. All right, we're pretty much done with the bottom part now. That's all much smoother. And we're ready to put this back on. There are rollers along all four sides, and these are what allows this to move down as the springs pull on it. And I'm going to want to relubricate those a little bit as well. And it may even be necessary to lubricate, ooh, that was way too much, the slides that they are on too. So some of these rollers are really stuck for me and do not want to spin. So I'm actually gonna have to get a little bit more in there. Okay, finally got that last one by using paper towel to grab this with some pliers to gently rotate it, and that finally got it. Let me wipe out the excess grease I got all over in there to make that smooth. Okay. Now, I'm going to put this back in here just to test, because we'll want to clean the head before we put this all the way back in. So that's under, back there, under the head. Oh, this went a little wrong. Okay. Release and down. Okay, so this will actually kind of work without having the springs on there, just to get an idea. So yes, but it's oddly the force of pulling down on this with the springs that makes this a little bit tougher to use, but that's feeling good. So I'm going to remove this again, use a clean Q-tip with some isopropanol, wipe off the heads. Might as well do this while it's so easy to get to. And then we will reassemble this more finally. All right, now more of a moment of truth. I'm gonna put the springs back on here. And with that, it'll apply force to those areas that slide. And that'll tell us if our lubrication on the bottom part was good enough. All right, so I should be able to easily get the disc to move down when I push this in. There we go. That is much better. All right, giving it a few actuations, I feel like that is doing much, much better. So I would say that floppy drive is ready to go back into service. That is all reassembled. So now let's go test both drives. All right, we're about ready to test the drive. So I'm gonna boot the HP here with HP drive, emulating the 7959B at address 1, which will be a hard drive image. So now that the hard disk is running, let's go over to the drives, and we get to see both of them seek now. So it should be this one, then that one. Oh yes, that's satisfying. All right, I'm gonna take 2 discs and I'm gonna put them in here. Oh, yeah, that's nice. All right, I forget which one of these I formatted already, so we're gonna go ahead and format both of these and then we will try and write to them. All right, now that it's booted, which I know is gonna be difficult to see, but we're gonna run initialize. And then I'm going to provide the drive address, which is :CS80, 1400. And then since there are 2 drives, the left drive is technically :0, but I can omit that, although I am going to add it this time. And then the right drive is :1. The 14 part of that is the device code for the disk interface card that I have in the machine. The 00 part is the GPIB address. So this will work fine. I could actually access HP drive by doing 1401, but I don't really want to format the hard drive I booted from, so we're going to leave that. And I'm going to run this now to format the left floppy drive. And continue. Alrighty, now that that is finished, I can go ahead and cat the disk using the same command access line. So CS80, 1400, and boom, I have a valid file system. So let's format the other one now that that's been repaired as well, so we can have 2 working drives. It successfully formatted the disk. It would have thrown an error if that didn't work. So cat CS80, 1400, 1. And that's a valid read on the second disk. So that is 2 functional HP high-density floppy drives now. That is going to make that computer so much easier to use. Let's get it all buttoned up and put over there with it now. You know, before I put the lid back on, since it's proved it's alive, I should go ahead and give it a clean real quick. That is much better looking now. So, now it's ready to be reassembled. And there we are, a functional HP 9122C. I have the drive over here on top of the computer. It actually states in some of the advertisement and the manuals that you're totally fine putting stuff on top of here. They even show a printer on top of this thing at some point. The air is meant to flow through the sides of the monitor. It's kind of weird. Anyways, put a disk in drive 0, and we will cat that. Cat CS80, 1400. It reads it. And there's a reason I want to do this in particular. This may take it a moment. There we are, it read it. Now, I'm gonna take the other disk that I had and I'm gonna run that again because that will verify, no matter what, that both drives are calibrated the same. So cat CS80, 1400. And with this, we'll know that both of them are good. It worked flawlessly. Awesome. So the first thing I want to test with this is taking the system disk and the language extension disk, and I want to try and put both of those on one of these disks so that I can boot from one media that will have all of the files I need on it. And then, because I'll have enough space for the language extension, I should even be able to have an auto start file that automatically loads everything. So I'm gonna go ahead and take some time to learn how to do this. The manual here. Making a backup copy of BASIC, page 12. Okay. Oh, wow, it's super easy. We can copy an entire drive. So let's go ahead and give this a shot. Read, write. Copy will purge all existing files. That does not sound like what I want, because then if we tried to copy the language extension disk, it would do the same thing. So this is not what we want. Okay, saving your customized BASIC system. There is a different section for this. So I'm gonna copy the system from BASIC 4.0 to this disk now, because I would like to make a 4.0 boot disk with all of the drivers and stuff that'll load in. I do know now, actually, as well, that I need this disk to access this drive, because this has the CS80 command file on it, or bin file. So I'll need that, as well as the mass storage stuff from this. So I have a bunch of things to load on BASIC 4.0 still, actually. Ah! Aha! It did it! Okay. Finally. Progress. You gotta load list bin. Okay. I loaded IO, mass storage, error, disk, CS80, HPIB, FHPIB, and DCOM. DCOM is Datacom Interface Driver. That one sounds important. FHPIB is Fast Disk Interface Driver. I bet that's the one I needed because I have the DMA card in here to communicate with this thing. So that explains it. Okay, now I'm gonna remove this because I don't think I need it in there. Store system, okay. And then I'm going to do sysboot, because I set my own name, all right. Colon, it'll be CS80, comma, 1400, comma, 0. Okay, I think this command will copy the system loaded into memory to the disk. And if it doesn't, then I'm gonna have to put the disk in, but I think it's how this will work. It is writing it to the disk there. Okay. I don't know if it's gonna copy all the bin files or not. That would be super handy. I'm gonna guess not. All right, now cat CS80, comma, 1400, comma, 0. We have sysboot on there. Okay. I'm going to turn the computer off, and I'm going to turn it back on. There's no disk in there. It should boot from that, but I don't know what bin files are going to be on there. So it's actually completely possible it's about to boot from that and then not be able to access it if it doesn't have the bin files for all of the interface cards and stuff that it needs. All right. Cat. Ah, it loaded that disk. Okay, list bin. It saved all of the files that we had loaded to it, so it totally works. Oh my gosh. We have one disk that loads everything needed to use that. That is awesome. Okay. That was a major first step in learning how to use that drive, because I can now know how to make bootable disk drives and copy stuff. So I can make a custom drive, disk I should say, that will have all of the language extensions on there. So I can then pop in, say, the demo disk, and then be able to run any of those without needing to load them all one at a time. That is gonna be such a massive time savings. That's awesome. Okay, this thing is super cool. That is a lot of fun. Well, that was some major progress made. Drive is working, and the drive is even usable. So not just usable, beneficial to use. So that is awesome. I'm really happy with the whole total outcome here. That was just great. So if you guys enjoyed this video, you may want to subscribe to get notified when I release another one. If you want to help support the channel, you can find me on Patreon. But for now, that's it, and I will see you next time.